Good evening. Welcome to the Candidate Forum hosted by the League of Women Voters of DeKalb County in partnership with WNIJ. My name is Jan Dorner, and I'm from the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are happy to provide this service for the community. The League of Women Voters is not responsible for verifying the accuracy of the statements that candidates make in this forum. Questions from the League and community members have been collected before this forum and were screened for duplication, clarity, and appropriateness to the office being discussed. The candidates have not been provided the questions before this forum. The candidates agreed in the ground rules that no voice, image, or other duplication of the forum may be used by any candidate, representative, or campaign in any campaign advertising. This forum is among 5 of the 7 candidates seeking the position of DeKalb District 428 School Board. There are 4 open seats. Each seat is a 4-year term. By participating in this forum, all candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth prior to this forum. This race has 3 write-in candidates. To vote for a write-in candidate, you must bring the candidate's name with you, write it on the blank space, and fill in the oval. This forum is available on 2 different WNIJ platforms, including Facebook Live. I've been asked to announce that WNIJ reserves the right to mute commentators who do not follow the WNIJ social media policy. Each candidate will present a 1-minute introductory statement, the order set alphabetically by last name. Then questions will be asked and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond in alternating order. Closing statements will be 1 minute as well. An electronic timer will be used and candidates will strictly adhere to the time limits. Candidates, when the timer reaches 0, you may finish your sentence, but then you must stop. Candidates, please unmute and turn on your video. Candidates participating tonight are Christopher Boyes, Stephen Byers, write-in candidate Eric Larson, Stephanie McDavid, write-in candidate Howard Solomon, candidate Vanta Bynum, and write-in candidate David Seymour were invited but will not participate.
Jan, may I just say my name is Samantha McDavid. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So let's start with opening statements. Christopher Boyes, you have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Boyes. I've been a member of this community literally since I was born at Kishwaukee Hospital in 1998. Barb that graduated in 2016. And since I graduated in 2016, I've just seen a community and a school that I went to, which has been a wonderful experience for me that I felt truly prepared me for my future education and career. And we've had changing things going on within our community. And some of that has had impacts on our district. And I've just felt the call to get involved and try to help our community be a place where everyone feels that they can be heard and cared for, but also so that we can have a district where our students feel safe coming into that environment, so they have that safety net where they can grow and truly have potential within our community. And that's my opening statement.
Thank you. Stephen Byers, your opening statement, 1 minute.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Byers. I'm a DeKalb resident. I taught here in DeKalb School District for 7 years. I had 5 years over at Huntley Middle School and 2 years at DeKalb High School. I've got 3 kids in our district. We're Lincoln Lions, which we're very happy to be. We love Lincoln, and we've got 1 over at the ELDC. So I've got about 14 more years of kids going through the school district. So it's pretty important to me that we have the best district we can. In 2019, I became a local business owner. So I left teaching a little bit after that. And I've been doing that since. And it's a privilege that you consider letting me serve on the school board. I hope I can do a good job.
Candidate Eric Larson, your 1 minute opening statement, please.
All right, good evening. I think this is a great opportunity for our community to hear from the candidates, just to really make an informed decision on the school board. So really just briefly, 3 things about me. One, I've got 5 kids that have either gone through or are currently in District 428. So I've got 2 that are in Clinton Rosette right now. The second, I'm data driven. So I had the pleasure, the privilege of running businesses over the last 15 years as either president or CEO. And I had to make decisions based on facts, figures, numbers, not the emotions, the egos, some that sometimes drive us to make decisions. So again, I'm data driven. And third, I'm solution oriented. And so we ended up selling one of those businesses, and now I get to coach leadership teams of organizations and businesses, help them get on the same page with their vision, get more disciplined and accountable, and help them be healthy, and help them really solve complex problems. And so thanks again. I look forward to hearing from all of the candidates as well.
Thank you. Candidate Samantha McDavid, your 1 minute opening statement, please.
Thank you, Jan. You got it right. I'm Samantha McDavid. I am a current D428 board member. I grew up in DeKalb and moved back to DeKalb with my husband, who's my high school sweetheart, after college because we knew that we wanted to raise our family here. I believe that I have so far tried to govern with a student-centered lens and a focus on equity, and that is what I will continue to do. I believe that I have developed an understanding of what a board member is and what a board member does and what is board work. And I'd love to continue that journey. DeKalb is a really unique community, and I'm excited to be able to have the opportunity to serve it.
Thank you. And Howard Solomon, your 1 minute opening statement, please.
Hi, I'm Howard Solomon. I have been a board member and was on the board between 2015 and 2019. I left the board for health reasons, recovered completely, and I'm now ready to be back with gusto, I hope. During my time on the board, I got to really like doing the things that the board does. People would tell me that is the most thankless job. I can't understand why anybody would want it. And I got that from virtually everybody I knew. And there were so many things that impressed me about DeKalb, about the students, about the way they learned, about how good they were athletically, musically, scholastically. This is a great place with great students learning from great teachers, and I intend to help keep it that way.
Thank you. So let's start with our first question with candidate Byers. What are your top 2 priorities to focus on as a member of the school board? Please say why each is important and what you would like to see the school board do about each one.
Okay. I say one of my top 2 priorities is making sure that the board maintains kind of a level of respect for the professionals who work in our district, that our administration, our teachers, our staff are all treated fairly and with respect, and their expertise is appreciated. The second thing I think is to focus on, and I think the board's already moving in that direction, so props to them, but really continue to focus on making the learning environment better for every student, or for as many students as we possibly can. And like I said, I know the board's doing that, but I think continuing that work is vital for our kids' success.
Thank you. Candidate Larson, same question.
Yeah, so really 2 things. One is people in terms of people in the employees at DeKalb. So one, we've got 150 or 140 openings right now that they're looking for
Of those, about 54 are for teachers and instructional assistants. And so that puts a real burden on the teachers when they don't have the support that they need. And so we've got to get those positions filled. And so if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority in an organization. So we've got to focus on getting them and the teachers the support that they need and deserve. Second thing is just more community engagement. Not a lot of people go to the board meetings. Not a lot of people put their input in. So we've got to be more creative in how do we outreach and get the word out to the community about the great things that are going on in the district, and also to get their input so that their voices are heard in terms of decisions that are made. Again, people, let's make sure we get the support for the teachers. And secondly, community engagement, community involvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate McDavid, your two top priorities.
I would say my top two priorities are continuing to look at equitable outcomes for students, making sure that we're continuing to assess our policies, procedures, curricula, and environments for cultural bias and structural racism, supporting staff in culturally responsive teaching and learning in a way that doesn't add one more thing to their plate, but is really more embedded as a district, and improving the ways that we expand or partner with our students and our families and communities. Especially families, though, as co-decision makers. And then the second priority, I would say, is safety and security. And I think social emotional support falls under that, because that will help make our classrooms and our schools safer. So allocating funding towards social emotional learning in classrooms as part of our Tier 1 strategy, and more SEL specific staff. And I think that making sure that staff feel supported to help their own mental health needs as well.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon, same question.
Oh, I saw the question a little bit differently than I've heard so far. The two things that I anticipate that are bound to be happening within the next 4 years. One of them is that we are going to have to renew teachers' contracts and go through a series of negotiations. That series of negotiations needs to be smooth, needs to take the teachers into full respect and be a part of doing things peaceably and progressively, so that we develop and keep the best staff that we have going. And in addition, the workers will be the non-professional staff, so to speak. Then we have the buildings, which are coming up, and like to make the best and wisest choices about those from now till the end.
Thank you. Candidate Boys.
I think the first thing is definitely making sure that our community is on board with the efforts that are going on at our school district. And what I mean by that is currently, Sycamore School District has the Rotaract Club of Sycamore, which sponsors a program called Adopt a Classroom. This is a program that, through a nonprofit, not even something the district itself does, provides books for students in classrooms every single month that they get to take home and keep. So my thing is, how do we get groups in DeKalb excited for our children's education in that same way within our district? So it's working with community partners to make sure that we're helping build the school is my first priority. The second priority, I would say for me, definitely goes into safety. And I think the safety takes on two different avenues. One, our students need to have an environment where they feel comfortable and they can truly grow and thrive. But two, our teachers shouldn't have to feel stressed going into their job every day thinking that I'm a kindergarten teacher and I have a student that may attack me.
Thank you. Candidate Larson. Is there an underlying principle that will guide you in making decisions on the school board?
Yeah, don't make assumptions. And so you've always got to question and assume the best in people. And so I think it's important that as we approach the issues in the community, as we approach the issues at the school board level, that we ask great questions to understand what the real issue is. Because a lot of times the stated issue that we talk about is not the real issue that we have to solve. And so we've got to really dig to understand what we've got to solve in the school district. So that's really the approach. The task that I will take is to just ask questions and try and ask questions to understand what the real problem is, so we can get to an answer that we're actually solving the real root cause and not just fixing a symptom that's out there. So that's the approach that I would take.
Thank you. Candidate McDavid.
I think I would say responsiveness. Having been on the board for the last 4 years now and seeing how long some decisions can take to make when the need is really urgent has been difficult, but I think that we have started to put into place some procedures that will help us to be more responsive to staff and more responsive to student needs. And I think that is how I'd like to continue and making our district more responsive to the needs of students and staff.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon?
Could you repeat the question, please?
I sure can.
Like to get it 100%.
Is there an underlying principle that will guide you in making decisions on the school board?
My underlying principle is that all students can learn, must learn, and that we need to do as much as possible to make that happen. And I'll yield back the other 45 seconds.
Thank you. Candidate Boyes?
Yes, I would say that my guiding principle is the idea of infinite worth. And what I mean by that is whether it's a student, a teacher, an administrator, or a parent within our district, they all are led to feel that they have infinite value and worth within our district and our community, and that they're going to be cared for with that value behind them, so that, they can feel that, hey, my voice has been heard by this board when it's a concerned parent with something that's going on safety-wise or curriculum-wise that they may not understand or be confused by. But it's also so that our students that might need IEPs and things like that are truly getting the care and help that they need to be as successful as they can. And whether that's allocating additional resources to make sure that our special education departments have what they need, or it's helping connect students with different outside organizations where they might be able to get assistant resources, such as stuff from the food pantry, so that they can be fed and ready for their school day.
Thank you. Candidate Byers?
I would say that for me would be the principles would be love and balance. I really love being a teacher here in DeKalb. I love this community. I opened a business in this community. I loved the kids in this town, all of them of all shapes and sizes. They were all wonderful little kids. I taught 11 and 12-year-olds, and even on their bad days, they're still worthy of love. But there's also a balance that needs to happen. We have a lot of people in town, and we got to share the love with everybody. We got to let the taxpayers feel the love when they need to feel the love, but we got to let the kids have what the kids need.
Thank you. Candidate McDavid? How can the school district address the needs of students and teachers in this post-COVID period?
I think going back to responsiveness and really listening to people and engaging them as co-decision makers, as the people that are most impacted by the decisions that we're making. They need to be a part of those decisions, whether that's students or teachers. And I think that's really how you embed equity into a system as well, is by making sure that those who are most impacted are engaged. And then I think making sure we're allocating funds when possible. I think fiscal responsibility really is about allocating funds to the needs as the first priority, especially student needs, but staff very close right there. They need to be supported to meet the needs of our students.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon?
Our district was incredibly ahead of the curve for having done what it did during the time when I was on the board of bringing aboard the Chromebook series, which enabled us, we said, indeed, students are going to need to compute. We have to put those things into people's homes. And when it became possible that people could be passing diseases among themselves if they were gathered together, we needed to open up that door to make it work. Now, the Chromebooks may be outmoded. We may have to do something better than that, but we have been very, very good about it. And we've been very good about trying to bring people back together into a classroom system, which should be a little bit hybrid. There's always a tale out there in the world where students are away. And we can utilize our experience to make it work.
Thank you. Candidate Boyce?
I think the biggest thing with moving out of the COVID era is making sure that our teachers feel empowered. Because as we are all well aware, we've had students that had a good 2 years where there may not have been a lot of structure, there may not have been a lot of order in their lives. We don't know what their home lives were like. And then we throw them right back into the educational system where they're in this box for 8 hours a day and they've got rules and orders and schedules that need to be followed. And sometimes, it can feel hard for them to adjust to that. But we also need to make sure that our teachers have the power to keep those students accountable, which means we need to make sure that we have an administration and a board that is supporting our teachers within the classroom so that they don't feel like they're trying to keep order within their classrooms, but then have an administrator or a board that then, doesn't enforce any rules afterwards. And the student essentially just go on a vacation when they get in trouble at school. That's something we need to make sure we prevent.
Thank you. Candidate Byers?
I think we can echo a lot of what Samantha said is really just listening to the people involved. Our kids are great at telling you exactly the truth, and they don't really sugarcoat it much. Adults a little bit different, but I think that's one thing that I definitely have in our community is I have a lot of people around who I know that they can talk to me, know that they can tell me what they believe to be true. And I think that listening and really reflecting on that and helping identify what those needs are as quickly as possible is going to be a real game changer.
Thank you. Candidate Larson?
Yeah, so really two things. One is related to students, the other is related to our teachers. As it relates to students, we just have to meet them where they are. And so they all come every day to school with different stories, different backgrounds, different disadvantages that they come into. And we've got to meet them where they are and just make sure that we're sharing the love with them. And so they know that they're appreciated and that they are valued. So that's the first thing, is we got to just really meet the students where they are. Second thing is it relates to teachers. And so, we have teachers that are leaving middle of the school year for various reasons. There's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety as it relates to being teachers right now. So we've got to support these teachers because the pressures they have on them, the requirements from the state, the requirements from the district are significant. And we've just got to get them the support that they need so that they can do what they do best, which is teach and educate our kids in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon? The school district represents the largest part of our property tax bill. What do you say to a homeowner with no children in the public schools who objects to paying those high property taxes?
Well, for one, I am that homeowner, but I don't object to paying those high property taxes. And the reason that I don't object to paying those high property taxes is that the education that is being administered through the school is what is making my life as an elder of this community more comfortable. I get to experience students doing all kinds of things that are for the good. And when I recognize it, they in turn turn around and recognize me. The courtesy that I get in this community comes from schools, from students who are extremely well educated. As I see them, I go out walking early morning and I'm usually going past a half a dozen bus stops. They're out there. They get out of my way. They say, hey, here comes somebody. He's an adult. Let's clear out. Let's move. Let's make things comfortable. And they're wonderful.
Thank you.
That's it.
Candidate Boyes?
Well, first, I would let them know that we are the only area within the county that had a 6% reduction in property tax for the entire county. So I'd first let them know that, property tax wise, with Meta, Amazon, and Ferrera coming in, things are looking good for property tax bills in our area. And I think it's important to note that having a strong district and having a strong university is what is giving us the talent and workforce that is bringing those businesses into this area to develop and lower their property taxes. So without that, essentially, we're going to have increased property taxes with a lower return on value if we don't invest in our education system in this area. So in the long run, by investing in our students, we're investing in our community's economic growth, which helps us to bring in strong businesses like Meta, and also lowers the property taxes that they'd be required to pay. So I'd let them know there's actually all positives to paying those property taxes because it helps them pay less by doing it.
Thank you. Candidate Byers?
The question was about the homeowner who's against the high property taxes. I think my approach to that situation, if someone approached me with that concern, I would reassure them that we're doing everything we can to keep the property taxes as low as we can. But mostly I would show them some gratitude because our amazing school district is what it is because we all chip in. Everybody does their part. And I think that little gratitude can go a long way with grouchy people.
Thank you. Candidate Larson?
Yeah, a couple different approaches. Everyone has different reasons why, they feel that way, that they feel the way they do. So one, and everyone wants to hear a story. So a couple of things. One, some people just about the money. And so, hey, one thing is your value of your property will increase if there's a good educational system in place. That's just the reality. And so that's one thing. Second thing is just asking questions. So what about when your kids were if you had kids in the district when they were young, who helped pay for their education, who helped foot the bill for the taxes when your kids were young? And so it's just about paying it forward, but you have to understand where they're at, where they're coming from to understand what's going to help them understand or resonate with, hey, it does make sense to pay higher property taxes or to pay property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate McDavid?
It's going to echo a lot of what's already been said, but first I would say that education, a strong K-12 education system is a public good and does make our community a better place for it, and in turn does help with your property values. And I would also say that every year that I have been on the board, and even years previous to when I was on the board a couple of years, there have been efforts by the school board to allocate money that we have in a way that is meeting student and staff needs, as well as abating or lessening property tax levies. And so we are doing our part. The way that the system is set up is that we rely on property taxes for our revenue. And if you have a big problem with that, I would say talk to your legislators. But we are doing our part not only to address the needs in the district, but we're also doing our part to make sure we're addressing property tax burden.
Thank you. Candidate Boys, what specific ways would you recommend for dealing with cultural diversity in our schools?
I think that is honestly a tough issue because obviously I am a nice white man. So I am the pinnacle of, just being someone that's always been in the majority and had a very great advantage just by being born. So I think it's very important that we engage those community stakeholders because I'm never going to be able to know their perspective. So it's important that we engage them and bring them into the fold and make sure that we're having those conversations so we can know these are the needs that this community has. But it's also important that we don't get ahead of ourselves and assume that they need things that they might not. I think a lot of times you just got to empower the individuals so that they have the ability to go out and create success for themselves. And that involves just engaging them in that community and having them lead themselves instead of us doing it for them. And I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Candidate Byers?
I find that when I had my classroom that I had 35 or so different 11, 12-year-olds in the classroom. And the way that I could express it to them best was that if we had a classroom full of old bald dudes with beards, old white bald dudes with beards, it'd be a pretty lame classroom. And that diversity, I think it's best when we embrace the diversity and everybody's different cultures, because I think that that's really what makes life great, our community great, and can make our schools, does make our schools great. So really embracing that diversity is something I want to do.
Thank you. Candidate Larson?
Yeah, so a couple things on that. One, it's great to see my kids have great experiences in the school district, having different cultures, different backgrounds, different stories that they share with their friends. So that's great to see that. And so my experience has been when kids, even when adults have shared experiences with other people of different cultures, that's when you start to really understand where they're coming from, and you start to get closer. You can do all the training you want. Harvard did a study on equity training and found that it lasts about a day. And so what Harvard did find was that, hey, when you have shared experiences, that's when you start to break down some of those walls. You start to grow closer, you start to understand. And so anything we can do in terms of sports, music, anything that we can do to pull people together is what really helps get people to know each other better and improve the culture diversity. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate McDavid?
Thank you. I feel like it's a little bit of a trick question because it said dealing with, and I don't think that it's really anything we need to deal with, but that it is something we need to accept, embrace, and celebrate. And I think that ways that we can do that is supporting our staff and becoming more culturally responsive in their teaching and helping students understand each other. And I think another way that we can do that is to partner with community. Right now, we know that really across the nation, the majority of our teaching staff are white, and when we have, and English speaking. So when we have students that are Black, Brown, Indigenous, or multilingual, it helps when we can't fill those gaps in making sure there's someone that represents them in our schools, that we can partner with community organizations to do that as well. And I think similarly, we have to listen to people, and we have to hear what they need and what they want, and we have to trust their lived experience and truth.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon?
I concur with just about everything that candidate McDavid was saying. I'd like to add a couple of things to it. Among the schools that we have buildings, we have facilities, we have playgrounds, we have just an incredible richness that needs to be shared with the community. When I first became a board member, I was given an opportunity to be at Rosette, and while there, because I live very close to it, I was offered the chance to just talk to the principal and be informed that, yes, I can cut across the back field and the football field when it's not being used for athletic purposes. So we take what we've got and share it. And that means opening the building at the odd times sometimes and inviting more people in. End of story.
Thank you. So let's go to closing statements. Candidate Byers, you're first with your 1 minute closing statement.
Thank you, everybody, for taking a watch of this forum. It's been a pleasure to sit here and talk and answer some of the questions that are there. I hope that I can answer any other further questions that come up prior to the election or after the election. And I hope that I can serve this community well. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Eric Larson, your closing statement.
I just want to thank you again. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this forum. Again, I think it's really valuable for the people online to see the different views, opinions, perspectives that each one of us brings, so they can make the right decision that aligns with their values and what they want to see out of the school board. I just hope today that everyone saw that I'm open and honest, that I'm data-driven and solution-oriented, and I just really want the best for our community, our students, and have an environment that our teachers can thrive in. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Samantha McDavid, your closing statement.
Thank you so much, Jan, and so much to the League of Women Voters and WNIJ for hosting this and inviting me. I think that I've begun to prove myself in my role on the school board currently, and I look forward to continuing to serve my community in that capacity if the voters so choose. I will continue to use a student and equity lens, or student focused and equity lens in decision making, as well as try to be as responsive as possible, especially when we have the funds to be able to allocate to staff and student needs.
Thank you. Candidate Howard Solomon, your closing statement.
I'll thank the League of Women Voters for putting on and hosting this forum. And I'd like to thank the other 4 candidates who are here for sharing ideas with me that I will probably project to other people. I think that I would be comfortable with every one of you as a fellow board member. And I hope that you have learned that you would be equally comfortable with me. And I'll stop talking.
And candidate Chris Boyes, your closing statement.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to the league and thank you to WNIG for putting this on. It's honestly been a great time just to hear from everyone else tonight. And just know that there are so many people that are excited and happy for DeKalb to continue to be a community that's going to grow. And I think that right now we are at a point where our city has done an amazing job of building up our community. And to me right now, our school district is one of the main focus points that we need to get to a place where people are excited and happy to move their families to DeKalb. So I'm excited for anyone that's on this panel tonight to be a part of that momentum forward. And I look forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Our time is up for this forum. Your participation as a candidate and as a voter is essential to preserving the freedom we hold so dear. For more information, please visit the nonpartisan website, illinoisvoterguide.org, where the recording of this forum will be posted on each candidate's page. Please remember to vote on or before April 4th. We thank the candidates, the Voter Service Committee of the League of Women Voters of DeKalb County, and WNIJ for organizing this forum. Good night.